Have you ever felt like you weren't being heard when you speak? This happened to me for years. I hadn't actually realized at first it was happening until it showed itself quite clearly that it had gone too far. I was working in a kitchen at the time, and I'd been very stressed out. I was suffering a lot of anxiety. I was drinking a lot of alcohol at the time, working crazy hours for zero money. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy in my job. I wasn't happy in my life. Physically in pain a lot, and hadn't been sleeping properly. My articulators, since I didn't communicate well with people, had just seized up my jaw. I wasn't opening my jaw enough. I wasn't using my articulation as well as optimally as I could. And so it got to the point where even my own friends and mother said to me they couldn't understand what I was saying. So I've been there. I've tried to communicate with people and have it thrown in my face and not be heard. And a lot of people don't necessarily tell you that. It takes an honest person too. So I'm curious if that's been something you've had. And if you have had those experiences of people or at least having the feeling that people aren't hearing you, then you'll know how frustrating it really is. And you feel you're trying harder and it just seems to make things worse, or it makes you feel like you're unable. We need to feel heard. I think it's really important in all aspects. I've got 2 children now, and it's amazing how their behaviour changes according to whether they feel that we've given them enough time and energy and space and enough of a voice of their own. And it's really interesting. It's really helped me listen more. But again, we're humans. We need to be heard. So, and if you feel like you're not being heard, here's 5 things that you can actively do to improve your situation. These are very different types of advice that I usually give. And the reason for that is I've been making videos on YouTube now for a few years, and I've given my advice, and my advice is adapted and changed somewhat, but generally the message is the same. I come from a place, I come as an actor and singing background, so I've learned about optimizing my speech and looking after my body as my instrument first. And for me, usually finding relaxation, finding the right kind of support in my core structure, my alignment, my balance, that's like mental balance as well as physical balance, to be very beneficial. And so these kind of advice is, I've taken a mix of things that I wouldn't usually use. Okay, but I want to talk about them because other people seem to think they're important, and I'd like to put my perspective onto them. But they're going to be useful to somebody out there by watching this. So after that long-winded intro, let's just get on with it. 1, speak with confidence and conviction. Now, again, this seems like a general term, confidence and conviction. Yeah, but what if I don't have any confidence? Then try and find some conviction. I find that people tend to speed up speaking when they feel they're not heard. They tend to rush more. It's almost like there's an anxiety that's causing them to throw their thoughts out too quickly. And that's just one element that can make you misunderstood or not heard, or feel that you're not heard because people haven't listened because you've spoken too fast or gone too fast or mumbled. And so what happens if you consider the idea of confidence? Usually there's less anxiety in that. There's more presence, there's more groundedness, there's a sort of there's a comfortability in yourself, and that automatically reduces the pace in which you speak. I prefer not to talk about pace, and I prefer to look at what we can actually physically do, because if you're analytically thinking I need to slow down, that could stress you out even more. And so perhaps if you find ways that you can calm your breathing, calm your nerves, keep your feet flat on the floor, relax your breath, and slow yourself down, being gentle with yourself, that's really going to help you at least appear more confident. And what happens is there's a loop. When you start to appear more confident because you're physically more grounded and present, other people will respond to you as such, and that will help make you feel even more. and again, help keep you grounded and calm. And so it's not just what you do, sometimes it's what you receive from other people. If people can't hear you, that might be irritating, more anxiety, you might speed up or make yourself less heard. And so by slowing down, or by at least finding presence and relaxation, you're going to be in a better position to start with. And as for conviction, if you are flippant and throwing words out just to be heard, it might be that people are less likely to listen. However, if you are saying things and picking your conversations and picking your words more precisely, I believe that travels more. So all of this comes down to relaxing, taking your time and feeling ready, not rushing. I mean, like, there's many ways to do that. My online courses, there's lots of things on this channel, yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong. Qigong's fantastic for me. Try these things out if you feel that anxiety is a part of what could be causing you to feel like you're not being heard. 2, use pauses to your advantage. So pauses can be really powerful when used correctly. And I really hate usually giving these kind of tips and advice, but there is something in it. And again, like pace, I don't want you to just learn how to slow down and speed up. It's more about how you feel, and that will affect your overall performance as a speaker. So again, with pauses, if you sit down and mark where you're going to take a breath and pause, it's going to become a little bit robotic, and you're going to feel that, and your listeners are going to feel that, and rather than being better heard, you might just bore people to death. But pausing is a really good way if you are connecting with your words, and if you have found a way to make yourself more grounded and present. A pause is 2 things. 1, it's an opportunity for you to think and actually breathe in and feed your brain some oxygen so you can collect your thoughts and prepare yourself for your next sentence. And 2, it also gives an opportunity to your listener to catch up with the thing you just said. So if you are someone who's a bit anxious and maybe speaks very fast, giving yourself a break to think about what you're going to say next also gives your audience a little break to think about what you just said. So therefore, you might be better heard by using pauses to your advantage. And again, it's something you can practice. It's something that will become more natural when you do it. And I wouldn't like to just put them in here, there, and everywhere. Just there is a way of feeling it, but it's if you get stuck, or if you're rather than rambling through words like I do on this channel, I'm a terrible example. But you can pause and think about what you're going to say next. It could be really helpful and help people hear you more. 3, vary your tone and inflection. Okay, so this is speaking now. Varying your tone and inflection. It's dynamics, vocal dynamics. Some people have one pace. It's just go, 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 go. Other people have quite a monotone, just sit on their voice and are just happy to speak for hours and hours in the same way, and that can be very interesting if what they're saying has some weight to it and it's really a very interesting subject. However, it can be very boring after a while, if you know what I mean. So by adding some vocal dynamics, you can show you're passionate, but also we're not thinking about these dynamics. We can do vocal exercises in our own time and to improve our range, and then we can gradually start to feel more comfortable sharing that. And it's not by controlling it, it's by letting go. Often the vocal dynamics comes when we stop thinking about it and we just allow ourselves to be passionate. But yeah, if you find that people maybe aren't listening, or you're not being heard because you're quite monotonous or too fast, again, you can try every once in a while to slow yourself down. Take a pause to think. Connect with the words you're saying. Again, this comes down to relaxation and being present again. But just by doing that, you've added some dynamic. It's not necessarily going up here and going down there. I mean, that's fun, and I tend to do that myself, but that's because I like to play and I find it interesting. But you don't need to do that. You can be much calmer. And the consideration itself can show a dynamic. So, yeah, I say play. I mean, there's a great video here that could help you play and just learn to explore your voice and what's possible with it. And actually learning to explore what's possible is a great way to develop an understanding more of your instrument and what's available to you. So there's lots of tools in this channel for that, and I hope you can play around with them. So 4, speak slowly and clearly. Now we've kind of gone over pace in vocal dynamics, and again, using pauses and speaking with confidence, but these things are really connected. And if you think about speaking slowly as opposed to just being calm, if you try to slow yourself down, something happens where it's quite likely you're going to articulate more too. Imagine that you're speaking to a child who doesn't understand or is not listening. People tend to articulate more, and less so for the camera, but more in a public speaking environment, on a stage or in a room, you know, in a classroom or a workshop. You need to articulate, and so you don't just need to slow down, but the clarity of speech is quite important. Again, on camera it sounds a little bit pedantic and it sounds a little bit false when I over-articulate, so I'll stop doing it now. But in those other environments, in order to where what you hear is more important than what you see, I think it's good to work on your articulation. Great video for that here. That'll help brighten and tighten and sharpen your articulation before you go to speak. And again, if you're suffering with anxiety, controlling your breath and grounding yourself is going to help you slow down. So perhaps this video here would be a good one for you to practice before going to speak. So an articulation warm-up and a breath exercise to help you slow down and speak more clearly would be just the ticket. And 5, and possibly the most important, is to be authentic. There's nothing worse than someone who sounds like a robot or someone who sounds like they are reading. All of these ideas are just for you to give you stimulus to improve yourself, okay? I can't be there with you to do it. And these videos that I'm sharing, or whether you're a student of mine on the course, it's really up to you, because it's your body and it's your life. You have to kind of take what you can and use what works and forget what doesn't in your own improvement. But one thing no one could teach you is how to be authentic. I can only suggest that by being more relaxed in your body, more comfortable in your mind, in your emotional self, that you will be happy to share yourself as you are. Of course, you can make yourself more articulate. Of course, you can make yourself less anxious, and you can appear more confident, and you could use pauses and dynamics in your voice. But by doing it just because I've told you to, it might just not sound very authentic. So it's about experience. Practice is really going to help you with that, but also being comfortable with yourself. And if you have had some, trauma in the past, then maybe even get therapy. Maybe there's some people you can talk to, counseling, to help you figure out why you want to change, or why you feel something's wrong, or why you think people aren't hearing you, because maybe they are, and maybe it's your own perception. Something to think about too. I mean, I've gone through my own experiences. I've lived a life, and people are there that can really help you. So I hope there's something in here for someone. If one person has got something from this video, that's brilliant. And that one person maybe share this information in a few years' time to someone else, or share this video with someone, and someone else gets some benefit from it. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you would like to sign up to my newsletter and start practicing on your voice, you can get the first week of my 8-week course free, which is on the breath, and there's a link in the description box below. Yeah, my name's Darren McStay. This is Improve Your Voice. And until the next time, look after your voice.
I have so many takes